Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Neetika and this is the Chic Artist Studio. Today I'm sharing 7 simple flowers and fillers that I use again and again in my floral compositions. Once you learn these, you'll be able to mix and match these to create several floral compositions. So let's dive in. Alright, let's talk supplies. So I am using my trusty watercolor set from Winsor & Newton, some round paint brushes, and then 2 jars of water for cleaning my brushes, and this palette for mixing my paints, and some paper towel for blotting my brushes. Okay, so let's get started. So I am using a round size 6 brush for my first flower, and I'm gonna be mixing a very light pink here. So there was some pink already on my palette, and then I am mixing some I am mixing some permanent rose in it here, and I want to lighten it up a bit, so I am adding some white. Okay, some more white, and maybe a little, like a hint of yellow, to mute it down and make it more coral shade. Okay, all right, so our first flower today will be a very simple 4-petaled flower. So let's start with that. So I'm just, see how I am painting it. So it's a stroke, so it will be a very fluffy petal, and I have left a little bit of space in the middle so that it acts as highlight. Okay, like this, and we are going to leave a little bit of space in the center where we'll put the stamen later. Again, like this. Just shape your petals the way you want, and I like leaving a little bit of white spaces in the middle, in some places, and they act as highlights like this. Okay, so 4 petals, and then I'm gonna use a slightly darker color, so I'm mixing more pink in it, and I'm gonna leave it in the center, and then some might be on the edges where I want some highlights, some shadows, not highlights. So yeah, to give these petals more definition, and we'll come to it when it dries. We'll come back to this one. Next, we are going to paint a black-eyed Susan. So we'll start with a round size 2 brush, and then I am mixing little bit of burnt umber here, okay, and I am making the center of my flower. So black-eyed Susan has a very dark center, so this is perfect for that. Okay, next we are gonna come back to our size 6, and we'll mix our cadmium yellow and then start painting the petals. So they droop down like that. So I'm starting from here, droopy petals, so it's just 1 stroke. So I am dragging the belly across the page like this, belly of this brush. Okay, again, like this, and then they will go like that, Okay, and then maybe one more here, and I'll go with very small petals behind, right? This. Okay, so we'll come back to these flowers for the details, but right now we are just placing our first layers in these flowers. All right, next we are gonna paint a rose. Okay, so for that I'm taking my size 6 again, and I am taking my primary rose again. Sorry, permanent rose. Why do I always call it primary rose? Permanent rose. Okay, so for the rose we have to start with a very dark center, and then as we move around and outwards the petals will get lighter. So we'll start with a fairly darker center, so it's just some C curves, okay, like this. Okay, and then I'll dip my brush in water, take excess water out, and start painting the outer petals, which are lighter, like this. Okay, again I'm dipping my brush, taking excess water out so that there is very less color, and I'm just dragging the brush like this. This is a very loose rose. Okay, and we should leave it here. Like this. And I want to again go in with this permanent rose, and I'm slightly dropping it in certain areas. To depict the shadows. Okay, like this. And our rose is complete. Next we are gonna do very simple cluster of berries, because you can use these berries for in your compositions as fillers. I love using berries, so they are fairly simple, but they are an important part of a composition. So I have some magenta here, so mostly I use very dark berries, so I am using this magenta, and I'm gonna mix a little bit of purple to make it more like a mauve color, and a little bit of alizarin crimson or any kind of pink. Okay, so I am using my size 3 brush, and these are very simple. I will just make these circles, and I am leaving a little bit of highlight. So circle with highlight. Okay, fairly simple, nothing complicated here. Circle, highlight here, maybe. And one other trick is, I'm just cleaning my brush, and there's just water in here, and if I want to paint some lighter berries, I will just draw this and like touch it slightly to a berry which is dark, like this. Let me show you one more time. So let's paint one more here. So I will just use very diluted color and slightly touch it like this, right? This looks so pretty. And then again, I think it needs one more berry here. Okay, and I'll drop some darker color here. So this is fairly simple, but it adds a lot of, you know, what would I say, movement in a composition, and I love that. So for the stem, I'm gonna use brown, this burnt umber that we just mixed, okay, and then a very thin brush, so it's size 2, or you can use a size 0 also, and I am going to add the stems. So I want this to go like this, okay, maybe this goes like this, okay, this is done. This is our small berry cluster, very easy, but looks very nice. Okay, next we are going to paint a very quick peony. So today we'll start with a very light color. Start with the coral that we mixed for the first flower and add more yellow to it so that it becomes very light. Okay, we'll start with this light mix. Okay, so the idea behind this peony is that we will be painting a circle, kind of a center first, and then we'll wrapping around the petals around wrapping the petals around it. Okay, so I am painting a broken circle kind of. So this will be the center for my peony, and then I will mix more permanent rose in it. Okay, and I'll start painting the petals around this circle. So my first petal will be a bigger one like this. Okay, next one will be something like this, and then I will have petals surrounding this. Okay, so behind, okay, just like this. I will soften these up, mix them in. So this is very loose peony. Okay, we are not getting worked up in the exact details of this one, but we will be trying to paint this very loosely. So the loose petal will be here, okay, and then it will be here, another one will be here. Okay. So very loose and amazing peony. Again, I'm just dropping some of my permanent magenta, permanent rose. What's happening today? In some of the areas that I want darker, like this. Okay, and we will come back to it to paint the stamen in the center. All right, next we're gonna paint a very easy like cluster of flowers which acts as fillers but are very beautiful. When you add them to your composition, they like add some sort of movement and life to the whole composition because they are very airy. Our bigger flowers can be a little stiff, but these are very airy and they add a lot of movement. So I am mixing a very light yellow. For that, I'm taking my yellow, cadmium yellow, and then I'll add white to it. Okay, so I want very light muted yellow, so I think this will work fine. I'm gonna paint just very small flowers. So I'm just using my brush to shape these flowers. This will be a 3 petal. So don't worry about the number of petals. I'm just using my brush to add these petals. And then some of them will have 3 petals, some will have 2, because they are facing everywhere. It's a cluster, right? So, and here I will have just like this, and I'll call it a flower. Then take a smaller brush and a dark center. So for center, I'm again using my burnt umber, and I am just stippling my brush like this in the center. So when you add a dark center to a very light flower, it instantly elevates your composition and adds more contrast to it. It looks more fun and refined. And then let's make it more dramatic. So I am using brown for the stems. So let's make this our focal flower, and then I'll be just adding these right like this. Okay, I'm just gonna darken up my brown a little bit. Should come like this. This one is going this way, and then it's coming straight. Okay, maybe like this. And then I'm again gonna use my size 3, and let's add some purple, kind like light purple petals to it. So I have some purple here, and I'm adding a little bit more of dioxazine purple to this mix here, and try adding some drama. Okay, like this. So these petals are fairly simple, just like one brush stroke or 2. So I'm just flicking my brush and calling it a petal. Okay, like this. We are not painting very detailed flowers here, so they're just very loose. So this is done. Okay, next I'm gonna paint some like vertical flowers. Okay, so for that, let's take again some green. Okay, I'll mix some green here. So I am taking my Hooker's green, and I'm gonna add some yellow ochre to it. Okay, this is my favorite green. Okay, so for these vertical flowers, what we are going to do is we are just painting some thin stems, maybe 2, like this. Okay. Okay. And then with a size 2, this is a size 2, you can use any color that you like. I'm gonna use a purple for these. So I am mixing some dark purple first. Okay, I'm just going to use a stippling motion for these vertical flowers. Again, these are great as fillers. So we have to make sure that it starts with a point, and then gradually as we move downwards, it just takes the shape of a conical kind of a flower. Okay. And when you're doing this stippling motion, I want you to leave some white space. Okay, that way it looks more organic. Otherwise it will all be a blob of color, right? So like this. And I have changed the shade a bit as we are moving downwards. So I'm using darker color at the top, and then as we are moving downwards, I'm just diluting the color, adding more water to it. Okay, so this stem is behind the front stem, so I will be using some darker color along this edge, so it looks like this front one is casting a shadow on that one. Okay, and the one at the back will definitely be darker than the one at the front. So we can use these kind of elements in our loose florals also. And I want to add one more smaller stem to that side. Let's just do that. So a very tiny one here. Okay, I think I like them when they are in groups of 3. You can just paint 1 or 2, but this is what I like. So again, stippling motion, very easy flowers. Yeah. All right, so next we are gonna add our second layer to these flowers, and then it'll be complete. So I'm coming in with my size 2 brush, and we'll add a center to this one. We will just be using this burnt umber and just use stippling motion to add the delicate stamen like this, and just spread them further into the petals just a bit, this, and then we will add a stem and leaves to this one. I don't know why we didn't do it earlier, but we can do it now, it's fine. So I'm again using hooker's green and adding a little bit of yellow ochre, maybe some yellow. Okay, so we will add a stem. Make sure the stem comes from the center, so when you're painting the stem, just like slightly eyeball it and then paint the stem. And then the leaf will be just our simple 2-stroke leaf. Okay, this works nice. And then for the rose, we are gonna add some drama to the center and then some leaves. So again, permanent rose, and then I am going to dilute it a bit and add some darkness around some of the petals that I want darker. So just a little bit, not too much. We don't want to overwork it. We're just adding a little bit of color to it. Okay, looks good to me. I'm gonna use the same green to add some petals, leaves around it like this, maybe some here. Okay, like this, slightly more rounder. All right, so our rose is done, berries are done. Okay, so let's just add some brown to this green to make it darker for our peony, and then I will add some stippling, just stippling my brush to add those gorgeous leaves to our peony. It's just that, like this. Okay, and then I'm gonna use my pink for adding some shadows little bit, and then I'm gonna mix a very earthy yellow. So I am using my yellow ochre and adding a little bit of cadmium yellow to it, so it becomes nice dark yellow for the center of our peonies. So we are using this stippling, little bit of stippling, and then adding the tops of the stamens like this. Okay, so this is a very loose peony, looks very good when we paint floral composition. Okay, let's add some leaves to this one. So I am mixing one green So if you want to learn how to mix greens, I have a full video on that, specifically on mixing greens. So you can go watch that, and I'm sure you'll feel confident about mixing your greens after watching that video. So I am adding some very simple leaves here. And that is it for today. I hope these 7 simple flowers and fillers gave you the confidence to create your own beautiful watercolor flowers. The more you practice these basic elements, like the leaves here, like the petals here, your brush strokes, the easier it will become to mix and match them into endless floral compositions. If you enjoyed this tutorial, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe more for beginner-friendly watercolor lessons. And thanks so much for painting with me. I'll see you in the next tutorial. Happy painting!